Hey Alex, I learned something this weekend from the championship games.
What was
I
that?
I learned that there's no point in being bold. There's no point in trying to make these predictions. There's no point in trying to go out of your way to find a cool storyline and possibility of something that could happen. Because the NFL, it's not a storybook. It's what we get Chiefs and Tom Brady in another Super Bowl. And for me not guessing that, I only have myself to blame.
Yeah, I mean this is almost just like it's. I mean, it's what we see with LeBron every year. I mean, he went to the finals like 9 straight years. It's like, well, I'm gonna be the smart analyst and come out with this crazy, other prediction of what's gonna happen in the Super Bowl. But for the next 10 years, I just can't see a scenario where Patrick Mahomes is never not favored in a playoff game. Like it's gonna be an upset if he ever loses in the playoffs.
What's the point, man?
What's the
Like,
point? I
come
mean,
on, Tom Brady. He's made NFL 20 seasons. He's made 10 Super Bowls. Okay, he's
yeah,
making
he,
some
he took care of the last 20 seasons. Mahomes is going to take care of the next
right.
15, and we're going to have 35 years of two guys winning half the Super Bowls.
Well, what's crazy here's the stat, especially for you basketball fans. Ben Simmons' career on three pointers, 3 for 30. Tom Brady on making Super Bowls in his career, 10 for 20. Therefore, Tom Brady is more likely to make a Super Bowl than Ben Simmons is to make a 3 pointer.
By a significant margin. And it's not
Oh,
close.
it's tough, but hey, a lot of such a breakdown. They weren't the worst games. Matt LaFleur, what you doing?
Get
Okay.
it out of your head. We'll get into it.
Well, we'll get into it. Of course, we got all this set up. We got it by ourselves. Like maybe talking, maybe Tom Brady D solidify himself as the GOAT this weekend if he wasn't already. Where's Matt Stafford going to go? Greg Olson, Hall of Famer? Also, some other teams that should be put in this kind of conversation for a new quarterback that haven't really been talked as much. But we're going to get into things, of course. I'm your host, Ross Allen. This is, and if you're on video, you get to see witness greatness. You get to see Doctor AK for this episode over there in Science Blue Scrubs.
Oh boy.
And if you're on
Thanks, man.
audio, appreciate you guys listening on audio. If you're on Apple Podcasts, give us a rating for sure. But hey, you're kind of missing out on this, but it's all good. Just check out the video if you get a chance. He looks amazing. But this
I'm going to
is
sound significantly smarter today just because of what I'm wearing. So if you guys are just impressed over the audio, just know that the video it backs it up
and when he says
100%.
significantly smarter, that's not really saying much.
It's,
But
but it's significant.
it's significant of whatever. It's not no time for math. Let's get into this first game though. But before that, let's talk about our sponsor real quick, Thrive Fantasy. If you guys do any sort of sports betting, which I know a lot of you do, I know Alex, you've had time with that. I've dabbled in that, and it can be kind of hard to get into sometimes. But Thrive Fantasy makes it a lot easier for the casual sports bettor because it's prop betting that you don't have to do any of the research yourself. They have all that for you. All you have to do is just pick a NFL stuff. There's like 10 things you can pick of. You pick 5 of them, the best bets you feel comfortable with. It's super easy stuff like that. And best of all, if you use our promo code fourth and long, that's the number 4 THANDLONG, caps don't matter, you get essentially free money because on deposit of at least $20, they'll match you up to $50. So, what better time now than the Super Bowl? NBA's in full swing. We got the NHL going strong. And, man, what better time, Alex? Super easy, right? Nothing like a little sports betting for football. Really put a little bit more on the line.
Little bit extra seasoning over the gift that is professional sports. And I mean, it sounds like they make everything easy for you. They give you free money. It's almost like you're doing a disservice to yourself, to your family, everyone who raised you, if you're not taking advantage of this fourth and long promo.
Well, gee, I don't think I was going to go that far, but yeah, that's
I am.
exactly
I went there.
good. That's what we need you for. But there we go. There's the spiel. Bucks at Packers was the first game that we got on this NFL Championship Sunday. And would you believe it? We did not have a repeat of what happened in week 6. What real cool, the first time ever that the championship Sunday games in the season were a repeat of the same 2 week same 2 games that happened in the same week. Both of these games, Bills against Chiefs and Bucks against Packers happened in week 6, which feels like a decade ago at this point.
Years ago.
But we're still in the same season. Well,
Yeah.
it's almost over, but let's not focus on that. Let's focus on the good. It wasn't the repeat, like I said, in the way the game was played, but in the outcome, it definitely was a repeat. The Bucks take this one 31-26. We had Rodgers actually outdueling Tom Brady in this one, but it was his defense that failed him for most of the game at least, along with coaching and play calling. And with this one, the Bucks became the first team to play a Super Bowl at home, and of course, Tom Brady is the first one ever to do that. And of course, the first home game Super Bowl is one where we have like 20% of the fans in there. So, come on, man.
It had to be like that. We can never have anything nice.
No, we can't have a sold out Superdome in New Orleans. We can't. Oh, nah. I'm mad.
You digress.
Yes. But we had Aaron Rodgers throwing for about 350 in this one, 3 touchdowns, an interception. Tom Brady, his, I would say, poor performance last week in the divisional round was overlooked just because of how much worse Drew Brees looked. And he looked decent. The Bucs looked good in the first half, and Tom Brady kind of falters in the second. He throws for 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, and that's on 3 straight drives. But the problem with that, Alex, is that on those 3 drives that Aaron Rodgers gets the ball back off of turnovers, what does he do? He goes 0 for 6 on passing attempts and 2 3-and-outs after two of those interceptions.
And here was the worst part of that whole sequence is you could see like end of the third, early fourth. You could see Rodgers. I think he just scored a touchdown to bring him into 1 possession.
Mm-hmm.
You could see him hyping everyone up on the sideline, like, let's go, 1 stop. I just need 1 stop here. And your defense got you 2, and you did nothing with them. 0, not 1 first down, not 1 completion. You crapped the bed completely. And you're supposed to be the MVP. And you can do as much as you want through the regular season, but when your team, when you have this good of a team and you have this good of a quarterback, all you can do in the NFL is put that guy in a position to succeed. Because it is very, very rare in the NFL when you get in these later stage games, besides for a couple anomalies, that it's not a close game. And in close games, you need your quarterback to set up, you need your leaders to set up, and you need your defense to put your quarterback in a position to succeed. So all in all, everyone did their job, and Aaron Rodgers just did not come through in the most important time. Again, this does not discount any of what he did up until that point in the season, up until that point in the game. He was phenomenal in the first 3 quarters, but when they needed him the most in the fourth quarter, he did not show up. 3-and-outs is just not going to get the job done in a fourth quarter of an NFC Championship game against Tom Brady.
And that statement isn't rocket science, but I guess it has to be said. And, man, let's talk about the defensive failures, though, as I alluded to, because although they did make a lot of improvements at halftime, they looked better in that late third, fourth quarter, but at the same time, that they didn't do enough to make up for the abysmal performance that they put on in that first half. I mean, the first drive of the game, the Bucs just marched down the field, converting 3 third downs, and third downs of 4 yards, 9 yards, and 7 yards. And on those conversions, they weren't just getting the first down; they're getting big plays off those, like sometimes 20 yards or so. You can't do that. And the Bucs on throughout the whole game, they go 9 for 14 on third down, and they go 1 for 1 on fourth down. You can't do that, especially against this Tom Brady team. And then also, you got almost no time left, essentially no time left at the end of the first half. The Packers are building a little momentum. They get the ball back to start the second half. So what do you do, Alex? You give up a Hail Mary to end the half. You get
that was the most puzzling ending of a half I've ever seen out of a good coach. Like Matt LaFleur is going to take his shit for this game, and deservedly so. But at the end of the day, he's a good coach. We think of him as a plus coach. We don't think of him in the Anthony Lynn, John Gruden camp of that you can't really manage a game and they know what they're doing. And just out of nowhere, I don't know if it was the pressure that got to him, the NFC Championship last year that put nightmares in his head, but the end of the first half was weird. Just you cannot throw a pick at the end of that. Your MVP of the league threw a pick in the worst spot, and then after that timeout, it behooves me to think that there's 3 seconds left in the half. or there's 8 seconds. Time for one more play, basically, until they time period to talk about, like, what do you think is one thing that the coaches are telling you? They're telling you, do not get beat deep and do not go off sides. And they do the worst thing that can happen. A dime by Brady, also a freaking dime put in there on a Scotty Go. And that changed the complete ball game, because you could have been 14-10 going into half and you played a horrible half of football, and then that happens and it's crushing.
That's not how you win games, right? I mean, also, if we're looking, they had the ball with about at the 142 mark going into halftime. Honestly, the Bucs shouldn't even got the ball back. But what you do, you have your MVP on what could have been a really clutch and game-changing drive to end the half. You throw an interception, so there's possibly a 14-point swing. That happens.
10-point swing at the least.
At the least, because if you're the Packers, you could have gone down and get a touchdown. Let's just assume you make the extra point. That's 7 right there. But instead, you let the Bucs drive down you get the ball out to them. Then the Bucs go and make this Hail Mary on single coverage against one of the faster guys on that team. A guy that put out the challenge to Tyreek Hill in the race. Now, let's not get too carried away. I don't think that's good. I don't think that's a win for him. But Tyreek Hill's really fast, but still,
the fact that he's putting himself in that ballpark though is pretty shocking of his own confidence of his speed there. Jeez.
Hey, I'll respect that, and we'll see in the Super Bowl. But dude, 14 points. That's a whole different game. This game was 5 points. Okay. I think we talked about that point. I think we hammered that point in enough. Man.
Here's one thing I wanted to bring up about this game.
Yes.
Was Green Bay's game plan the whole time. They started a little bit run heavy, and then obviously they go pass heavy at the end of it to bring it back. But Aaron Rodgers threw the ball 48 times. That's normally a great game script. But what I didn't like was you ran the ball for this game 16 for 67. That's over a 5-yard average. I don't know why they went away so heavily from that run game and just solely passed the ball. I mean, I know what they're talking about with the Bucs rush defense is number 1 in the league, Vita Vea back. But what the problem was, when you completely go to that one dimension, you get Aaron Rodgers sacked 5 times in a game. When was the last time you saw Aaron Rodgers get sacked that many times? I mean, you heard JPP's name. You heard Shakespeare.
No, I believe he got sacked 3 times or 4 times in week 6. So,
but 5 is a lot. 5 is a lot of sacks, and they were all like super impactful sacks, putting him into third longs, fourth quarter sacks. I mean, JPP and Shaq Barrett were both eating. It's because they can completely pin their ears back, and those 2 guys are not great in the run game. The way you slow down dominant edge rushers is you attack them in the run game, stretches, tosses, powers them, kick them out, put a guard pull, kick those guys out, kind of rough them up a little bit. Don't let them just pin their ears back and go for the quarterback. And that's their only game script. The back half of the game was the Packers just getting eaten alive on the tackle positions. You don't have Bakhtiari. You have a backup left tackle in, and you're putting a rotating cast of JPP and Shaq Barrett, who got 5 sacks combined in one playoff game, which is a half a season for most players. So I just think they could have mixed in a little more run game at the end, even when they were down a couple scores.
You have to keep them honest.
You just have to. You have to. And I mean, I think it was a well played game overall on 2 different halves. The Bucs played a great first half. The Packers played a great second half, save for a couple timing errors and bad decisions. But I mean, Tom Brady got picked off 3 times. Like, he's played poorly in 2 straight playoff games, and the Bucs are in the Super Bowl. And I never would have thought that would have been the case. If you told me the Bucs were in the Super Bowl, I would have told you Brady had 2 monstrous games, and he just didn't. He just hasn't.
The game and the stats that we always had to look at, the stats that almost always determine the victor of a football game. Let's take a look at those real quick, Alex, shall we? Total yards. Yeah. Green Bay out yards or outgains Tampa Bay 381 to 351. So 30-yard margin there. Turnovers, Green Bay 2, Tampa Bay 3. First downs, Green Bay 23, Tampa Bay 19. Time of possession, Green Bay 34.5 minutes to Tampa Bay's 25.5. And the Bucs still win this game.
It's the field position game. They got killed every single time with field position and with negative plays. They call them havoc plays. So like big holding penalties or big personal fouls that put you behind the chains as an offense. That is what kills drives because it is so hard to matriculate the ball down the field time after time. It can happen once, it can happen twice in a game. But if you start asking your offense to do that 4 or 5 times throughout a game, it's just not sustainable. They're going to have some sort of big negative play that puts them behind the chains. And you saw that time and time again today where it looked like the Packs were on a great drive and they get a massive sack that puts them behind the chains. They can't recover. They got to punt it away. And that's just not a winning formula, especially in a game against the cream of the crop in the NFC. It just can't happen like that.
You can't do it. And let's talk about the sequence that went down at the end of this game. So let's break down one of the most boneheaded moves. If we want to throw it back, 2 similar coaches, Mike Vrabel and Matt LaFleur. If we throw it back, remember Mike Vrabel in their wild card game this weekend or this year when he punted at like the Ravens 40 when he was down. Some
basically like a surrender punt.
Yeah, and we went to that in our wild card recap. But the scenario here, the Packers, you're down 8 points. You need a touchdown to at least try to tie this game. You have two minutes 5 seconds to go, 3 timeouts and the 2-minute warning. It's 4th and 8, and with all that time, with Aaron Rodgers, with Devontae Adams, with Lazard, with Aaron Jones, with all this crazy good offense.
This goes on and on.
Yes, yeah, you get my point. You need a touchdown, Alex. So what do? You kick a field goal, so you still need a touchdown because you're still down 5. Can you
actually
make sense to me? Explain this to me, please.
We talked about it a little bit after it happened, but I just you could try to explain it to me or explain to me what LaFleur was thinking 100 different ways, and at the end of it, I'm still gonna think so you have all 3 timeouts, you have the 2-minute warning. You need a touchdown. You're already 92% of the way to a touchdown. You have the ball. I get it. It's a play, 4th and 8, 4th and 9. But if at some point you need to get the ball past that goal line, why wouldn't I want multiple shots at it rather than just saying, okay, after I kick the field goal, I'm going to A, need to get the ball back, and B, I'm going to need to get across that painted line again at some point. So why wouldn't I want to try that at least once from the 8 and then as many times as it took after you pinned the offense back within their own 10. Maybe Aaron Rodgers rushes the ball or they get short of the goal line and it's even inside the 5 or inside the 2. And then you have an offense that you know is going to run the ball the entire time. You don't have Tom Brady sitting back there getting PI calls, converting 3rd downs, converting 2nd downs. It just everything about going for that made sense to the lay listener, to the analytics-driven listener, to the coach listener, to the player listener, to everyone except Matt LaFleur, and I just cannot fathom what he was thinking.
An analytical guy like him, too, this new era of coaches, like bring my Vrabel, these are 2 similar coaches where they trust the analytics. They're aggressive guys. But we've been seeing a trend where, you're aggressive during the regular season, but in the time where your season can end it on any play, essentially, that's when you become scared to go out and try to be ballsy and try to make a play. That's when you decide to do that. And like you said, Alex, Matt LaFleur is a great coach, one of the better ones in the league. This decision was absolutely inexcusable, and there's no way that you can even explain this to me that makes it less bad, because at the end of the day, you need a touchdown. You kick a field goal, you still need a touchdown. Doesn't make a lick of sense to me. Doesn't. And I know that 2-point conversion isn't guaranteed, but you need a touchdown. I don't know how it could say the same differently.
You need 2 scores anyways. You're in the same spot that if you kick the field goal. You need 2 scores still. It just
it baffles. It's baffling. That also what's also baffling was the penalty controversy late in the game where the Bucs were driving, trying to kill the time after this field goal, after they got the ball back. We have the refs letting things go all game. The Bucs had the ball, minute 30, 0-37, 3rd and 4. It's an incomplete pass, but upon review, too, The refs ruled this play defensive pass interference, even though if you look at the replay, Alex, one of the DNs for the Packers is getting hell like a mofo.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how the Packers essentially lose this game.
I mean, here's the problem.
Dude.
It's like let's frame it. It wasn't like a review. They didn't go under the hood and
Yeah.
like call a review retroactively. They kind of huddled up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think the issue was, first off, it wasn't pass interference. It was just defensive holding.
Yeah.
The ball was not in the air yet.
Nope.
It's just when you have that jersey pull and you have some sort of shirt or other like kind of modality pulling and actually you can see it visibly, I think you have to call it. And I think I would have loved to hear that little ref huddle they had there, but they're probably like, no, we held him, but like didn't have any effect on the ball. But like we saw the jersey get pulled, and we're gonna look really dumb if we like go back on this and we didn't call something when there's clearly a jersey pull. So we might have to just call something just because. And I mean, it was the right call. It actually was just based on the letter of the law.
Yes.
But they did miss that defensive or that offensive holding. They weren't calling anything like that all game. I think it was.
Can we also talk
it
about?
was just a jersey pull.
Yeah, but can we also talk about that they missed a defensive pass interference that led to Aaron Rodgers' interception when they were trying to drive at the end of that first half? That was obvious pass interference, and it led to interception. But at least they'll make that game-changing call, Alex. At least they make this game-changing call. And, it is the right one, but it still just leaves a bad taste in my mouth, you know?
I mean, you can't get too mad at that call. It's the right call.
Yeah.
Like, it sucks. It sucks the way that game ended. If I was a Packers fan, I would be livid because I'd be like, they had to do it, but this is the worst, literally the worst way to end a football game is on a defensive pass interference.
And that's how that's how the Packers lose another NFC Championship game. And you gotta feel bad for some of these guys talking like some kind of stats that come out of this. The Patriots become the 6th team since the Cowboys did the first team to do this in 1975 to win 3 road games in the playoffs to make the Super Bowl. So that's
wow, that was a flip there. You're talking about the Bucs, not the Patriots, right?
Yes, that's the one. That's the Bucs. Tom Brady. It's still weird to me, right?
It sounds like he's got real estate in your head there.
Unfortunately, it's true. I don't like him. Then also, Aaron Rodgers becomes the only quarterback in history to have 3 playoff losses while throwing for 3 or more touchdowns in those losses. So, a lot of the questions, and then also, I mean, real quick, we'll talk about this in our buy or sell segment, but some possible quarterback drama with Aaron Rodgers and his future not certain in Green Bay, or is it? We'll break that down more, but there's a lot of people asking who. Of course, every loss, Alex, you have to ask, who can we blame for this? And there's a lot of people trying to blame Matt LaFleur. They're trying to blame Aaron Rodgers. They're trying to blame the defense. When in reality, not one of them are to blame. It's a very boring answer, and it's not an answer that a lot of people like to hear because it doesn't cause controversy. But this answer here is, okay, yeah, all of them are to blame. Aaron Rodgers came up short on those turnovers. The defense sucked in that first half. Matt LaFleur blew the game on the very, very bad play call. You can't blame one of them. They're all blamed almost equally in this one. You could argue, you can blame the defense a little more. You can blame Matt LaFleur a little more, but that doesn't matter. They're all to blame, and it's time to stop this narrative of just blaming one person when it clearly wasn't. It clearly wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be even harder to swallow for Packers fans than last year was, because I mean, last year at least they were just battered and bruised and beat down by, I think, the more physical team and the more talented team at the time. But this one, you come out of that game and you're like, they were so much better than the Bucs, and they let the game slip away.
Is that almost every playoff game the Bucs have had this year?
Except for the football team.
Okay, well, football.
Yeah, I mean,
in parts.
Again, they're just getting lucky. Just getting lucky.
Damn it.
That end of the first half sequence. If that wasn't Tampa Bay Bucs luck or Tom Brady luck, then I don't know what is. Because
Tom Brady luck.
To get a Rodgers to throw the pick, and then you have Brady set up where they're kind of in field goal range, kind of not in field goal range. let's call a timeout, 7 seconds left, chuck it deep, not on a Hail Mary, but on like just a regular go route from the freaking inside guy. No safety help. Let's just throw it right over the guy. Kevin King was peering into the backfield looking for like a play action fake or something. Had no idea what he was doing. I think again, this is just Tampa Bay getting lucky every single time. We're not wrong.
No.
They're the worst team. They're just getting lucky.
Yeah, 100%. And we've been saying that all playoffs.
Yeah.
It's just kind of annoying that they keep on winning when they shouldn't. Some really interesting stuff there. Our next game of the weekend is the Bills at the Chiefs. And what can you say? The Chiefs are a really damn good football team. Patrick Mahomes is a really damn good quarterback. Andy Reid, really damn good head coach. Their offense, some really damn good weapons. Their defense can play well when it needs to. And there's nothing you can say about this Chiefs team. There's not really an obvious actual weakness. That there's parts of their team that are weaker than others, but there's not an actual weakness you could say in this one. And the AFC is officially under new management. Tom Brady, he leaves. We get him out of the AFC, and we think, oh, yay, maybe some parity. Nope, because we got Patrick freaking Mahomes in his arm of gold. And now the Chiefs repeat as AFC champions. They go back to the Super Bowl. And you wouldn't really think Patrick Mahomes had injury problems going into this week's game. You wouldn't think he had turf toe. You wouldn't think he was recovering from a concussion. Because he goes out and he just does Patrick Mahomes things. And Alex, let me stop me if you heard this before. The Chiefs get out to early deficit. They put up a crazy amount of unanswered points, erasing said deficit, and they win the football game, especially in playoffs. Have you heard that story before?
It's almost like every single script, like the end result just makes you forget that they've been down so many points at the beginning of these games. Because at the end of it, you're just like, oh, like Chiefs cruise to a victory. When like little did you know, the first quarter, like first 10 minutes to 15
They're
minutes,
down 9-0.
you're thinking, like, are the Bills this good? Are they able to like shut out this Chiefs team under Patrick Mahomes? Like, you got Mecole Hardman out here dropping balls. Like, it was just a weird start to the game, but that's just maybe how they like it. They love being down because then it just gives them an excuse to, okay, like Patrick Mahomes can just throw the ball the rest of the game, and we'll send all these really fast guys out on routes, and Travis Kelce never being covered in the middle of the field. And it's just the way that their game scripts go at the end of the day, looking back on them, make zero sense, but also make the most sense because it's Patrick Mahomes and it's the Chiefs. It's just
let me give you a stat for that real quick. So in the regular season, in the 16 games, if the game was to end at halftime, the Chiefs' record would be 10-6.
What?
10-6. They were 10-6 football team at halftime.
Wow.
They're just, you can't stop them the whole game. You can hold them in pieces. And
that doesn't even make the playoffs in the AFC.
No, right? Isn't that crazy? That's a really cool stat play. Bring Mecole Hardman. He recovers after early muff putt. That leads to a touchdown almost instantly. He finishes with touchdown, reception, and a 50-yard run on top of that. And the story here, besides the Chiefs looking just really good like usual in all facets of football, Josh Allen and the Bills, they just look like the young and inexperienced team that they are. And the Chiefs just look like they've been there before. And through this game, I don't have anything to really criticize the Bills on. Of course, their shortcomings in some of the games. Josh Allen didn't play the best. They didn't run the ball as effectively as they should have. You have Josh Allen being your leading rusher with 88. That's kind of been the story of the playoffs, though. But you're probably not going to win consistent playoff games with that. But they're of course, their defense, they couldn't stop the Kansas City offense. But almost no one can. I can't really fault this Bills team. The Chiefs are just a really good football team.
Yeah. I mean, here's like what's kind of just the most depressing part of this whole thing is what happens when the Chiefs go into this game playing well? Oh. What happens if they have Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Oh. What happens if they don't have one of their starting offensive linemen opt out before the year? What happens when they get L'Jarius Sneed and their young guys up front? What happens when they get another year of experience? Like, they didn't have Sammy Watkins this game. They were missing arguably 3 or 4 key players that, are going to return next week in the Super Bowl. But this team is not clicking on all cylinders. it doesn't have all its players, and this is what they put out in an AFC Championship game against the hottest team in the NFL that looked like it couldn't be stopped by anyone. I mean, I just like is I don't remember kind of like when the start of the Patriots dynasty was or what like kind of the telltale signs were. But if these aren't the telltale signs where you have the best play caller by far, the best quarterback by far, the best group of skill position players by far, is that just what it's going to be like for the next 10 to 15 years? Because we keep saying it, but I don't see any other way that he doesn't make 5 to 7 Super Bowls in the next 15 years.
We like what we said at the beginning of this game. It's just new management. He's the new Tom Brady. That's why I am excited for this matchup ultimately. Although putting my biases and preferences aside, putting aside my unnatural amount of hate for Tom Brady that I hold inside me,
which we don't share, by the way.
Not at all. Not at all. It's
singular.
It doesn't. No. It's just me. And as a fan of one of the best team, a fan of the best team in the AFC West, not currently, but all time, being huge rivals with the Chiefs, it hurts to see a Tom Brady Kansas City Chiefs game. It really does. But at the same time, I'm really excited because essentially we get GOAT against mini GOAT or future GOAT, however you want to call it. And I mean, I don't know. He can't be excited for that, you know. But
no, I mean
that's going to come in our.
Isn't it weird? Isn't it weird to think that Tom Brady's made his 10th Super Bowl, and like people kind of clearly already say like I think Patrick Mahomes is significantly better than him already, and like I think peak Mahomes is already better than peak Brady, which is
we've been seeing people argue. Now I am not ready to commit to this, but there's a lot of people saying that Patrick Mahomes is already better than peak Aaron Rodgers. Now.
He is. I mean, he just is.
Yeah, so, I know he is, but I don't want to commit to that.
Listen to this stat. He's the first player ever. I mean, it applies to quarterbacks really because the stat really only applies to quarterbacks. Yeah. But he's the first NFL player ever in his first 3 years to be an MVP and get into the Super Bowl twice in consecutive years. So he went MVP the year that he lost in the AFC Championship, Super Bowl. First 3 years playing football in the National Football League, and you have that run of 3 years to start. No adjustment period. I know he sat out a year, but you don't get a year to be bad. You don't get a year to, lead the league in interceptions like Peyton Manning did, or, like Baker in his second year is throwing 30 interceptions, and, he's still got that label of being an okay quarterback, but he just does not have any sort of adjustment period. He just rips right into the NFL, tears through it like it's a T-bone steak. And I don't understand how this can stop. I don't understand how this trajectory can stop.
It's scary. I like to badmouth basketball a lot for their lack of parity. A lot of times we were seeing the Heat all the time. We were seeing the Warriors all the time. At a point we were seeing the Cavs all the time. It's the same teams making it, but now that argument doesn't stand anymore when it comes to talking football because it's the same damn thing. And I want to highlight that this Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill duo is absolutely lethal. And honestly, I don't know how you stop it because you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. They got you on the outside. They got you on the middle of the field. They got you everywhere. 290 total yards between these guys. Hill taking 172 of those yards with the 71-yard catch in the third. Travis Kelce taking 118 of those and 2 touchdowns of this. I really want to see how this below average Bucs defensive backfield actually tries to deal with this, because especially if we get was it Tyreek Hill that put up like almost 300 yards of receiving in their game against the Bucs earlier this season.
I believe he had 325 in the first half. Something like that.
This game could get ugly real quick, but of course that's going to get more in our breakdown of this. And then let's give some credit to the Bills because they're going to be back. They're a young team. They're a great team with plenty of room to improve still. And shout out to Cole Beasley for playing a bunch of games with a broken fibula this year.
Unreal.
That's
unreal.
That's awful. But
it can't be good for long-term health of your bones.
Who needs long-term when you're making money playing football? But what are the Bills going to be back next year? Is that a
Yeah,
dumb
I
question
mean,
to ask?
well, here's the thing. They've made some logical progressions, and
Mm-hmm.
like this is how someone's NFL career should start if they're on a good track. Josh Allen struggled his first year. In his second year, he was able to make it to the playoffs. In his third year, he was able to win a playoff game, win two playoff games, get to the AFC Championship game. His next logical progression is to be able to take on Patrick Mahomes for the next 10 years of their career. But I think every single part of the Bills' whole core got better from last year, and it got better because of young guys developing in the secondary and in the defensive side. You had an infusion of Stephon Diggs, keeping John Brown, keeping Cole Beasley, allowing them to slot themselves in their more natural position.
Mm-hmm.
You added Zach Moss. Zach Moss was a very, very underrated piece of this offense. I
They
think
hope
he
that
was
he's
really
injured for a
missed.
lot of the
I
year,
think he
but
was
he's going to be
really
good.
missed in those
Mm-hmm.
last 2 weeks because they didn't run the ball at
No.
all. They just
Besides Josh Allen.
completely. Yeah, and that's. I mean, you had T.J. Yeldon who got signed off a practice squad, or maybe he was waived or something, 2 weeks ago, and he's making impactful plays in the AFC Championship game because they clearly don't trust Devin Singletary. They clearly don't have anybody behind them.
Mm-hmm.
And Zach Moss was their thumper. He was the guy they would actually hand the ball off to on early downs. And without that threat of Josh Allen running, Zach Moss running, and Josh Allen throwing, you make that two-dimensional. It just makes it so tough to put, like we said, like we keep saying this, sustained drives, long drives, reduce the variance, reduce the ability to have interceptions, have negative plays. And when you don't have the balance and you rely so heavily on one aspect of that trio, it's it's just not going to lead to long-term success. And that's what I think they have to get back to throughout
Mm-hmm.
the regular season and back in the playoffs is they need to be a way more balanced team, and they just cannot turn into this only pass heavy team that is predictable and you can play them that way. And it's hard to win like that, especially against the top of the AFC and
Mm-hmm.
the Chiefs this year.
And it's going to help that in the head coach Sean McDermott, you got to coach for the next 10 years with that guy. So there's not going to be
Yeah,
a lot
he's
of
an
change.
incredible coach. I've never seen him make a clock error or anything like that. He makes a very, very good at any end of games. His field goal his field goal decision making in this game was a little questionable going against Patrick Mahomes, but
Right.
he rarely makes bad decisions at the end of
Mm-hmm.
games and at the end of halves when you're talking about timing and everything like that. It looks like he has a grasp of that, which is almost what you it's not what you can expect anymore out of NFL coaches, but
Didn't
it's
pull LaFleur, didn't pull a Vrabel, so I think you're good in that book. And now, Alex, I just want to bring to you, before we get to the Bar Hill segment, a fan take that we had from the Hard Hitting podcast. They posted us this take of the week, and that is that the Chiefs defense won them this game, not the offense. Your thoughts on this?
the Chiefs offense was the clear best unit on the field. Chiefs defense did their job against the Bills offense. They held them to under 30 points. And if you can allow your offense led by Patrick Mahomes to be under 30 points, you're going to win the game 9 times out of 10. So I can't say the Chiefs defense won them this game because when I say that statement, I think the Chiefs defense outplayed the offense, but that's just not the case. The offense dominated.
Mm-hmm.
Their amount of explosive plays and just the pressure you put on a defense when you have that many guys that can go over the top, and then you do that consistently, and then you have Travis Kelce run in the middle. And I mean, Tyreek Hill, I just don't understand how you can stop this guy unless you have a guy playing underneath him, a guy playing over the top of him, and if he does anything in the middle, you got to tip your cap. Because the only thing you can do is try to give him space. Because if you try to play that guy one-on-one, lockstep for him, he's either going to run by you,
Mm-hmm.
he's either going to break off a route, put you in the dust, or he's going to catch the ball at the line of scrimmage and then do the rest of it after he catches it. But
No matter what, it's an L.
You just have to give that guy space. I don't understand how you're going to be able to stop him.
Mm-hmm.
His feet are the quickest I've ever seen. He's fast. He's quick. He has good hands. He doesn't drop the ball. His run after the catch is incredible. And that's arguably their second best weapon on the offense, which is the craziest part of that whole thing because Travis Kelce is just I mean, I'm just like struggling to think right now. If you're a defensive coordinator, how do you go about putting a game plan together against these guys?
Prayer.
It's literally I'm like salivating over how good their offense is and how well run it is.
The way you stop this offense is by playing offense yourself. The only way to beat this offense is with good offense yourself. You're not going to be able to beat this offense with your defense. No defense is good enough for that. You have to have a group of all-stars for this. You have to have the Pro Bowl team to even have a chance at stopping these guys. It's just absolutely insane. But thank you for your take. Of course, if you guys want to drop that every time we make our NFL shows, just drop it Instagram at Fourth Along Radio, at Twitter at Fourth Along Radio. DM us. Just drop a comment and stuff like that. Do anything you want. We'll talk about that, and we do appreciate that. But Alex, there is our breakdown of these two championship games, and let's roll it.
We want the ball, we're going to score.
Tell them to bring me my money. Yeah!
Dollar bills, y'all.
So we buying or are we selling? And now, this is our buy or sell segment. Of course, the way this works, for you guys that don't know, we give you 5 statements a week, and it's up to you whether you're going to buy them or sell them. And Alex, something that we talked about earlier in this show was that this game possibly cemented Tom Brady as the greatest of all time. And so what I want to bring to you with our first statement is that this season, switching teams, proving that he doesn't need Bill Belichick, going to a totally new scenario, totally new offense, and not only winning this championship game, but also making the Super Bowl. This has cemented Tom Brady as the greatest of all time.
I think that is A, disrespectful to Tom Brady, B, disrespectful to GOATs, and C, did he need any more proving? Like, what more did we need to see out of this man? He's been to the Super Bowl 9 times. Mm-hmm. He's won 6 of them. He's got MVPs. He's got Super Bowl MVPs. He's everything you'd ask for out of a GOAT, out of the greatest player. Like, when you talk about Jordan being the GOAT, you wish that he was, a little more charismatic or a little more friendly to the media or a little more marketable, at least when he was playing. I think they've done a really good job of marketing him after, his playing career is over. But Tom Brady did not need any extra. But if you want to sit here and say that this season and this ability to switch teams, switch offenses, bring all his knowledge over to a new place, implement it at a different, just in a different system than that Patriots system. If you think he needed that to cement himself, then yeah, he cemented himself. But he's 100% already the GOAT. I think this is going to do wonders for him in separating himself against an eventual Pat Mahomes bum rush up the backside there. But no, I mean, sure, it cemented it, but I don't think it needed to be cementing. So that's my lukewarm sell on it.
See, with this one, it's tough because I kind of refrained from making the argument. I did like to, but as I kind of took away, if I bias Ross here, since I have a kind of unnecessary disdain for Tom Brady, mostly because of the Patriots, to be honest. I just mostly didn't like the Patriots, took that out on Tom Brady. And through the bias, I was always putting Joe Montana ahead of him. He's this guy won 4 Super Bowls, MVPs, all these offensive players of the years, all these all pros and stuff like that, all these stats, this dynasty in the 80s and 90s and stuff like that. But if you actually take a step back and just unbiasedly look at these two careers, Tom Brady is clearly better than Joe Montana. And he's done it with less talent than what Joe Montana had. Tom Brady's never had. He had Randy Moss, but that wasn't the Randy Moss. He's had Gronk, but that wasn't a Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice, the greatest wide receiver of all time. He didn't have that. And there's also a lot of people that like to take away because they just blame it on Bill Belichick and stuff like that. But he's clearly proven that he doesn't need him. Tom Brady was probably the GOAT before this, but this takes away all arguments against the man. He is undoubtedly the greatest quarterback to ever play this game. And as you like to say, Alex, it's not close. At least not anymore.
Not close at all.
And now our next statement is going to be that Aaron Rodgers is done in Green Bay and with the Packers?
I'm going to sell this statement so freaking hard. As much as I'd like to buy it and say he's going to put on a Niner uniform next year, there's almost like, if you look at contractually, if you look at from an Aaron Rodgers standpoint, from a Packers standpoint, just from a whole NFL standpoint, there's no reason that he should ever leave Green Bay. There's, he always prided himself that he wasn't Brett Favre. He tried to distance himself so much from what that mold looked like. And you leaving Green Bay at almost like close to near the height of your powers, you just won an MVP. If you leave and go to any other team, let alone a rival team, because everyone's saying, oh, he's going to go to the Bears, he's going to go to the Lions.
Way.
There's no chance Aaron Rodgers does that. I mean, I think the bigger risk is losing him to Jeopardy rather than losing him to the actual NFL team.
I'm sure he's going to kill it.
It just doesn't make any sense. He's got 3 years left on his contract. There's no way they're cutting him or getting rid of him. The only way that he's going to be able to get out of that is demanding a trade out of it. And I just don't think that he's in that position. I mean, he's revered in Wisconsin. Everyone loves him. They think of him as the king. I don't think he wants to ruin that status that he has in that city and that organization by demanding a trade out of there. I just think that if something's going to happen, it's going to be done behind closed doors. And Aaron Rodgers is never going to be vocal about wanting to get out of there. I think he's just a very introspective guy. And when he makes those comments, everyone wants to get their flashlights out. But I think he was just like making a comment because that's the kind of guy he is. And that's just like kind of what goes through his head. And he just says what he thinks. But there's no chance he leaves Green Bay next year.
This whole situation, it's kind of interesting to me because if you look at it, for a couple years now, we've been saying this season, but they haven't really been trying to help Aaron Rodgers that much. I mean, honestly, the most help that they've given Aaron Rodgers over the last maybe 3-4 seasons, you could argue that the most important thing they did for him was to fire Mike McCarthy. That's probably been the best thing they've done for him in the last 3, 4, 5 years. They haven't brought in wide receiver help. They've had Devonta Adams. He's developed in this guy. Your run game is developing, but they haven't really tried to bring in stars to put around this guy.
They seem to only try to develop the tight end position too. They bring in a ton of tight ends, but they never bring in a receiver. They never bring in like a high profile running back.
And we'll say it again, Alex, because we've only said this 100 freaking times this year, but they drafted his replacement by trading up for him, a guy that you could just wait till the second round for Jordan Love. Okay, you could wait till the second round for Jordan Love. He's not a first round talent, not a guy that you trade up for at the least. And Green Bay has never really had a great defense, or at least a solid defense that you could rely on. It's always been on the shoulders of Aaron Rodgers. It's always been Aaron Rodgers having to win the football games. Everything's always come down to him. It's either he plays amazing, they win a Super Bowl, or he plays good to great, and then they don't win anything meaningful. The weight of the franchise's success has been on the shoulders of Aaron Rodgers, and he's worn that burden very well. He's handled it very well. But at the same time, it's so weird that they haven't done more for him. The greatest quarterback that they've had in team history, arguably the most talented quarterback in league history up to this point. Patrick Mahomes not included because he's only 3 years into it, and he's going to break every records anyway, so there's no point mentioning him. But it's weird. It's at the least this whole situation is weird. You have team execs saying that they're going to keep him. Yeah, their CEO coming out and saying we're not idiots. Okay, but that's also coming from that's coming from the team that drafted Jordan Love, didn't give Rodgers any help. Kicked a field goal when he needed a touchdown. And there's some league executives around that have been saying that they're expecting a bitter divorce in this situation.
Well, if you're another league executive,
of course you're going to say this, right?
Wouldn't you want the media to be like, yeah, this thing's not going to end well in Green Bay. Like, let's
just give the ideas in there, and also it helps. It takes away maybe a little more leverage that the Packers have in a trade scenario. But with all of that being said, he's more than likely going to be in Green Bay. I know that's a boring answer. He's more than likely going to be in Green Bay, but as the days go on, I am not sold on his future with the Packers. If I was a betting man, Alex, if I had to bet the house, I'm betting that he stays with Green Bay. That's a safe bet. But if he goes to another team, I will not be shocked in the least. He's not going to go to another NFC North team. But if he goes to the Niners, and who, I won't be surprised to go and send him back home, but also send him to the team that skipped him out of the draft. Yeah, so we'll get into that. But for now, it's a very, very, very hesitant sell in this statement. Now, speaking of quarterbacks, speaking of trades, Matt frickin' Stafford, the most underrated player in the NFL, and he has been for some time now. He's finally getting out of the hellhole and black hole and just endless pit that is Detroit. That is Detroit sports. That is the Detroit Lions football. That is any Detroit franchise. And the statement I want to give you with this one now, Alex, is that the most likely landing spot for Matt Stafford is none other than your San Francisco 49ers. It would be a trade deal, of course. And apparently right now, the San Francisco 49ers have the edge in this one. So what do you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was actually waiting for you to bring up this point before I finished my thoughts on the last one, because I think the problem with Aaron Rodgers' trade market right now is the market is saturated with quarterbacks that
There's
are
a
looking
lot
for
of quarterbacks this offseason.
I mean, like 5-6 years ago when nobody made NFL trades, you maybe saw like a backup linebacker get traded for a 7th round pick. Like that was the extent of it.
Mm-hmm.
So if there was this like complete no precedent set for trading for a quarterback, or there's no packages made for those kind of players, and you said, if you started making underground calls, Aaron Rodgers is available, like what's your Godfather offer for him? You might have seen a situation where Green Bay goes, we could get so freaking much for this guy that's 37 and might want to leave anyways. Like, why don't we do it? But problem is you got guys like Matt Stafford, Deshaun Watson, Matt Ryan, all these guys that are still looking for jobs and that are all under contract that are going to get traded. And I think it just saturates the market a little bit for Aaron Rodgers. But to get to this point, I love Matt Stafford.
He's such a good quarterback, man.
I
put him in the gold. Put him in the burgundy.
Here's the thing. He kind of fits the Niners culture. I mean, he's been injured every single year, which is, that's kind of what the Niners culture developed this year. But he's got an incredible arm. I don't think this is the best fit quarterback to scheme-wise, because Matt Stafford's more of a shotgun passer, doesn't work a lot off play action, doesn't really have he's never been in a system that calls for a 3-down running back that, he's under center a lot of the time, that he's running a lot of play action, because Detroit has just never had that rushing threat. And so it would be a huge adjust to him, a huge kind of maybe shock to the system of, this is the new offense I'm running. So I don't think it's the best fit from a scheme perspective, but I think if you give Matt Stafford and Kyle Shanahan in a room together, what they come up with and what that offense is going to turn into would be electric. So I'm going to buy this because I love it, but I don't think it's going to happen, and I don't think that it would be the best outcome for both sides, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm just going to tell you right now, as for Matt Stafford, as for the best and most likely landing spot in San Francisco, even given that reportedly they have the edge, I'm going to sell that statement. Matt Stafford is a great quarterback, as we said. Also, I don't think he'll end up on this team, but there's a team out there, Alex. There's a team in the desert that hasn't really been brought up much in these quarterback conversations, whether it be free agent quarterback, whether it be for trades and stuff like that. But I believe we need to put
almost did it. I put 20 in the jar.
Caught myself. Barely caught myself. Almost pulled the John Gruden hat situation right there. But the Las Vegas Raiders should be in these conversations way more often than I haven't seen them in any of these rumors, whether it be for Alex Smith. Alex Smith is a better quarterback than Derek Carr, and you cannot convince me otherwise. He would be better for that Raiders team. You can't. He's a better quarterback than I'm like John Gruden, man. I don't like Derek Carr. Marcus Mariota might actually be a Wolford situation where if you compare it to Derek Carr, he's probably going to lower the floor, but he's going to raise that ceiling. That ceiling.
Marcus Mariota was the second pick in the draft. Quit acting like he's John Wolford.
Okay, but he also kind of sucked after being that second pick in the draft.
Yeah, but like he's still he wasn't like a below average quarterback. He started.
All right, that's fair.
He started for 4 or
I'm
5
not calling.
years.
Okay,
John Wolford,
I'm not.
They pulled off the streets.
I'm not calling Marcus Mariota John Wolford. I'm saying it's a situation where it's a situation where it's either you have a floor raiser or a ceiling raiser. You have one of those two. It's that situation. John Wolford.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I get that.
It doesn't matter because Wolford's better than Marcus Mariota, and don't F me on that one. But the Raiders need to be talking more.
I would love to see Matt Stafford on the Broncos. I think he would be perfect for that offense.
I really do too.
That's the type of offense.
Seeing Matt Stafford in blue and orange.
Like you already have the big tight end. He loves throwing to his tight end.
The only problem
he loves throwing to number 1 receivers.
The only problem, and I've been seeing this argument, is that, and I understand why you make it, but like some members of the Broncos media have made the argument that to get Matt Stafford, it's probably going to be like a first-round pick. The Broncos have the 9th overall pick, but almost you might get better value for. Some people have been arguing that that first-round pick, the better value is not for Matt Stafford, but it's better for Zach Wilson. I'm not sure if I buy that
Zach
because
Wilson's going to be there at 9.
That too. And honestly, I don't think Zach Wilson, he's probably going to have success. I don't think he's going to have Matt Stafford's success. And so at this point, Matt Stafford's fine. But honestly, a team that really needs to go after Matt Stafford and maybe the best landing spot for him is going to be with the football team. I
kind of like your Raiders pick, though. I would like him to go there because, I mean, he can throw the ball out of the stadium, so Ruggs can run under anything.
Bias, I really don't want them because that means the Broncos are going to have the worst quarterback no matter what in that division, be it Matt Stafford, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert. Ooh, you don't want to be a defensive coordinator.
As long as you have Drew Lock, you still have that problem too.
Yeah.
You can put him in any division and he'd be the worst.
Okay. He's not worse than Sam Darnold. Let's pump. No, don't give me that look. No. He's not worse than Sam Darnold. No.
In a 1-game scenario, I'm taking Sam Darnold over Drew Lock.
You're a fool.
And it's not close.
And also, you're just very, very rude. The next statement, Alex, is that he announced his retirement earlier this week, but Greg Olsen is a shoo-in for the NFL Hall of Fame.
I'm going to buy this statement, and I'm going to buy it for a very weird reason. Okay. I'm going to buy it because, his numbers speak for themselves. His numbers are Hall of Fame numbers. He's
real quick, Hall of Fame numbers, about 750 catches, about 8,700 yards, 60 touchdowns over 14 seasons. That's good.
It speaks for itself. And
yes.
Did he win a Super Bowl with the Panthers?
No.
Was he on that team?
Well, he was on the team that appeared in the Super Bowl, but also the team that got thrashed by your Denver Broncos.
Oh, that's right. He didn't win one with the Broncos. He wasn't on that.
He was with the Bears. He was with
on the Bears.
I don't think so, but I don't think. Unfortunately, he never really got there.
Does he have two? He might have 2 Super Bowl losses.
Oh, poor guy.
Was he on that Rex Grossman team?
Oh, I don't know. That's a great question, but why is he a Hall of Famer?
So he's a Hall of Famer. Sorry, I got sidetracked there. But I think he's going to be a Hall of Famer because, much like what we've seen with Tony Romo, Greg Olsen's going to go into the booth, and he's going to be in every home for the next 5 to 10 years.
I'm so excited.
As the years just start to dwindle away for when you become Hall of Fame eligible, he's going to be at the top of everyone's list because he's going to have so much visibility from a fan perspective. All these media members who are voting on the Hall of Fame, he's going to be in their living room every single Sunday. So he's going to get that extra exposure. And I don't think there's any possible way he can get lost in the mix because he's going to be in front of everyone. He's got the numbers. He's got the personality. He's got the charisma. He's a shoo-in Hall of Famer, 100%.
Huh? I have not heard that explanation from anyone. Alex, that That's a fantastic point right there, because there's a lot of these times the guys just retire, and if they're quiet, you just kind of forget about them, especially as a voter. I'm honestly really excited for Greg Olson in the booth, because he's just a great guy to talk to listen to and stuff like that. And he's no Tony Romo. At least he's better than Jason Wynn. No offense to Jason Wynn, who also retired, who's also probably a shoo-in Hall of Famer.
He'll be a Hall of Famer.
He's a Hall of Famer, but
I'm telling you, if
some of the booth wasn't the best.
If Tony Romo had one playoff or a couple more playoff wins, he might be a Hall of Famer just because of how much people love him in the booth.
I'm gonna tell you this much right now, Alex. Maybe a topic for a different day, but Tony Romo is going to make it into the Hall of Fame
As
one
a
of these days.
broadcaster.
Maybe both. Maybe both. Now, our last statement of the week, Alex, I present to you, out of the teams that did not make the Super Bowl but did make the playoffs, the Colts, or no, give me a sec on that one. Redo that. Out of any team that didn't make the Super Bowl this year, so all 30 teams that aren't the Chiefs and the Bucks, the Colts or the closest ones to making it to the Super Bowl, as in they're just one piece away from being this Super Bowl contending team.
I'm going to sell this statement every day of the week, and it's for a very, very distinct reason. You are never – I guess everyone's one piece away in the AFC, because if they just get Patrick Mahomes, they can be that one piece away.
Yeah, just straight for Patrick Mahomes.
You have to – you can't be one piece away and make it to the Super Bowl in the AFC. You have to, A, create an offense that can match Patrick Mahomes where, drive for drive, point for point. B, you then have to create all of these special teams plays that put yourself over an edge, because you always have Mecole Hardman or Tyreek Hill or Sammy Watkins returning punts, returning kicks. Byron Pringle. Every single receiver on their team is a do-it-all punt returner. Your defense has to have so many different aspects. They need to have someone that can guard Tyreek, someone that can guard Travis Kelce, someone that can spy Patrick Mahomes. They have to be, be able to adjust to post-snap or to pre-snap motions and everything that Patrick Mahomes does at the line of scrimmage with his mind. So it is so difficult to be one piece away in the AFC, but I will give you a team who's one piece away in the NFC, and that is the San Francisco 49ers.
Well, they're not just one team. Alex, they're not just one piece. They're just not injured. If they're not injured, they're Super Bowl. Are we counting that as a piece?
That's their piece. Their piece
That's
is
their
health.
piece.
Yeah. Their piece is health and maybe a little upgrade at quarterback, but you already did it with Jimmy G. They're not going to change much. I don't know. The Colts, any other team in the AFC is just, I'm a broken record, but I just cannot see unless another game-breaking type talent like a Josh Allen or like a Patrick Mahomes comes into the AFC. I just don't see another team that can compete with those two right now.
You're talking about Zach Wilson, the future of the league. Trevor Lawrence with the Jags. The Jags are going to win the AFC South because you got Urban Meyer and Trevor Lawrence. I saw some predictions about that. That's stupid, but that's another topic for another day. Now, the thing about this Colts team is that they're a quarterback away from being I know we can't do this, Alex. I know it's not healthy to do this, but this Colts team this year had Andrew Luck still.
It'd be a really good AFC runner-up.
Right? That's the thing, though. The Colts, or if they get a quarterback, especially if they get a Matt Stafford, if they get Aaron Rodgers with they're obviously going to be a lot better team. And right now, anyway, they are the third best team in the AFC without a quarterback. Now, with a quarterback, they're going to be rivaling the Bills. But the only problem is that there's the Chiefs, and then there's the Bills and Colts, and then there's everyone else. Right now, there's layers and levels, but the disparity, the difference between the Chiefs and the Colts and Bills tier is tremendous. There's a lot of space between that tier. So
and you're forgetting the number one seed and a playoff team from this year, the Ravens, who's got the MVP. The Ravens have such a high floor from a regular season standpoint because Lamar's going to beat every single bad team you put ahead of him. So the Colts are going to have to beat a Bills team, a Ravens team, a Chiefs team, multiple of those in the playoffs. And I just cannot see another team unless they don't get the number one. Like the number one seed and Patrick Mahomes don't go well together because that's just if you're telling him he has to win 2 games to get to the Super Bowl, I just you can't pick anything else against that.
I can make another State Farm commercial on the time you tell him to do that. Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
it's stupid because there's no parity, and Alex, we don't deserve anything good in life because we're sports fans and we're going to be punished internally for choosing to be so, right?
And you have to root for Drew Lock, which is the ultimate torture.
Don't remind me. The season's over. Let me. I thought I was able to forget about this. No,
you have to bask in it.
Why do I even have you on sometimes, man? At least you're.
Brings you back to reality. Just every single time you start to lose your way, I just remind you that Drew Lock is still a person.
I don't need you for that, Alex. That's how I feel every morning when I wake up. So don't give me that. But. That's our Brian Sell segment. Let us know what you guys think. Your thoughts on all 5 of these statements. Let us know whether it be on YouTube, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, or best of all, leave a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts. And also, with that being said, Alex, that's going to wrap it for us this week. This has been our AFC NFC Championship game breakdown. The season's almost over. Hey, at least we might not have a live football game this Sunday, but we have guys that are going to play the hell out of some Madden on streams.
Saturday or Sunday, but it's the Pro Bowl celebration. I love how they're branding it this year. The Pro Bowl celebration because
they're doing
the Pro
everything
Bowl
to
is the
save
most
it.
overrated award in the history of sports because there's 18 quarterbacks every year that make the Pro Bowl, and nobody cares about it.
No,
nobody. They just like to see the Hawaiian shirts and Andy Reid try to.
Hey, if I'm being honest, yeah, Andy Reid and the Pro Bowl used to be awesome. I mean, we all remember Sean Taylor just decapitating a helpless punter in that. But and the only positive I can give it this year is that their jerseys, they look good. They look pretty good. I'll admit they did a good job, better than those orange and green neon stuff we had with Deion Sanders drafting and Jerry Rice.
Whenever Oregon got big and everyone started doing highlighter colors, they're just like, all right, let's tone it back here on the electric yellow.
The electric. You remember when we had just gold and gray as our colors, looking real spiffy in those? But no, they look good now.
No more.
And before I cap things off fully, just remember Thrive Fantasy, promo code thrivefantasy.com, Thrive Fantasy app, Apple, the Apple Store, yeah, is the Apple App Store, whatever the hell it's called, and then Google Play Store, all that fun stuff. And big thank you to our Patreon supporters. Shout out to Ray Rodriguez for all your card collecting needs. Go follow at the Big Bat Box on Instagram. Check out Neil Wiley and his YouTube channel, Chosen Problems, and thank you to Ryan Watson for supporting the show. But Alex, we got a Pro Bowl to look forward to, and next week we're gonna break down this Pro Bowl celebration for you guys. But who cares about that? Most importantly, we will break down all you need to know going into the Super Bowl, because it's the biggest game in all of professional sports, at least in America. I mean, that's the only thing we don't care about. Who cares about the world? Because we're America, damn it, and we only care about the Super Bowl. Yeah, America. Well, Alex, thanks for joining us this week. Thank you, Dr. AK, with his special appearance. Can we expect Dr. AK to join us again?
Well, unlike the NFL, this podcast does not take weeks off. We don't take days off.
Never.
We don't have I'll be back. Don't worry. I'll be back.
I'll be back. Ladies and gentlemen, and enjoy the rest of your days after you spend listening to this. And the best way to enjoy it is by checking out our other amazing content, especially for UFC fans. We break down the craziness of UFC 257, all of our interviews with a number of UFC fighters, professional football players, and all that fun kind of stuff. But ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Alex, we'll be seeing you later.
Peace.